Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Great to have you here today on episode 2068 of the Cabral Concept, our Mindset and Motivation Monday podcast, where I love to be able to bring you really what I've been studying, really what I've been thinking about. And this one goes back to, it's an absolutely amazing principle. One easy way to reprogram your mind without having to force yourself to do even a lot of mantras or meditation, or it's just a very interesting way to go about it. So the very first time I heard this, it immediately clicked. This makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to share that with you today really quick, really simple. I want to give you a lot of examples. So whether you are looking to improve your overall career, your overall health, relationships, body transformation, finances, spirituality, you name it, you're able to use this. Because remember, what we're talking about, there's two parts of the mind. There's the subconscious mind. Difficult to break into that part, okay? I'm going to teach you how, but difficult to break in. And then here's the reason why. We have what's called the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is the conscious mind, all right? So after the age of about 8 years old, subconscious is basically locked in. It can certainly be reprogrammed through repetition or traumatic events, and at the same time, really great events, but it has to be really powerful emotionally or through repetition. But I've got a nice little workaround here today, which has been taught now for thousands of years as well. So I think you're going to love this. But the gatekeeper, the conscious mind, says, when you hear something, even like this podcast today, it's going to say, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. You can't do that. That doesn't sound right. And so what it does is it blocks you from all new information that may run counter to what you already believe. But the problem is you are working right now on what you currently believe to be true. So those are your programs. And that could be great. And it probably is great in a lot of different areas in your life. But let's just say that you have the health that you want, you've got the career that you want, but you don't have the relationship you want. Okay, well, here's the thing. You could say, oh, I'm just unlucky in relationships. You could say that, right? And that is exactly what I'm talking about. That is part of your belief-based process. And so what we need to do is understand, okay, we need to take a little assessment. How's our career? And career can be anything. Stay-at-home dad, stay-at-home mom, lawyer, restaurateur, podcaster, doctor, integrative health practitioner, whatever it might be, whatever your career is, that's what you do basically. When I say career, I just want to understand, like, that's what you're doing. That's the majority of your day. Nonprofits, community, church activists, anything. That is just what I'm calling your career, okay? So that's just what I want to keep it at, all right? So then we have your finances, and you don't need to be a millionaire, multimillionaire, billionaire. Finances is, where are you at? Like, I mean, are you happy with where you're at, right? That's, again, it's not about comparing yourself to anyone else. And I hope that you tune back into last week's show, 2061, to get rid of this comparison, because comparing yourself to another person, literally comparison is the thief of joy. I'm not going to go that through today's show. Check out 2061 for that show. And we can go down the line. Again, how's your health? How's the body transformation? All those things. What's it look like? Okay. So what I want to do is I want you to first understand is that we are really a product of a 3-point process. I'm going to teach more about that next week. So definitely tune in for next week's show. We are a process of our thoughts. Now, there's a loop on this. So let me just explain this briefly. Our thoughts, the images that we conjure up in our brain, we don't typically conjure up words. We conjure up images. And if it is a word, it's an image of a word. Okay, so we think in pictures for the most part. So now we're thinking of something, and let me just say, think about you biting into a lemon. What happens? All of a sudden, you actually start to feel maybe a little queasy, or maybe you feel some saliva start to come in your mouth. It's one of the tips that we give people when they're actually doing a saliva-based at-home lab test, is to pretend like you're biting into a lemon, and immediately your mouth starts to typically water a little bit, right? So that started with a thought, but it led to a physical reaction. Interesting, right? It led to a physical reaction. Why? Because we thought about what it would be like to bite into a lemon, even though there is no lemon. So we know that we are consciously able to transform our body, to make things happen in our body just through thought alone. But we're not going to stop there. So our thought, though, typically leads to feelings, right? That feeling of, whoa, what's it like to bite into a lemon? Or what would it be like to, and we'll get into those questions in a moment, achieve this, this, and that, right? So it leads to certain feelings. It also can be negative, and I want to talk about that today. So, what would it feel like to have no energy? And you're like, oh, immediately your body starts to drop down. Right away, I felt that my body actually started to sunk. I don't know if you caught that on video. My shoulders slouched forward a little bit. Not a good thing, right? So what do we need to do? Well, I need to pull that back, because we know our physiology affects our psychology as well. So we've got our thought actually creating feeling inside of our body. That's the nervous system, okay? So we've got the mind and we have the body. They have to be connected. So the mind affects the nervous system, and of course the nervous system can affect the mind. But we have our thought affecting our feelings and our nervous system, which then leads us to take certain actions or not take certain actions, right? If we see that it's pouring rain outside, well, it creates a certain feeling of us getting absolutely soaked on the way to, let's say, our car. And we don't want to be soaked, right? So what does it do? It leads us to an action of saying, I'm not going out in the rain. I'll wait a few minutes, or let me go find an umbrella, right? So that's its simplest stage. But we always think on the simplest stage, well, that can't relate to the big problems in our life, but it works exactly the same. So the truth is this. First, you just need to understand the formula, which I just taught you. I'm going to go way more in depth next week. But then you have to understand this, is that, so it starts with the thoughts first. So let's say we don't have the relationship we want. We don't have the health we want right now. We don't have the body we want right now. We don't have the love we want right now. We don't have the spirituality, right? We don't have any of these things that we want. We have some, we don't have one others. All right, let's focus on what we don't have right yet, not in a negative way, but understand that if we want a different result in that area of our life, we have to change our thoughts, all right? We have to change our thoughts in that one particular area. So here's how we're going to do it. We have to lead with questions. A lot of people in the health field love to use the term biohacking. I get it. I use it myself sometimes, not my favorite, because it looks at the body as almost this machine. It's mechanical, right? It's just chemical. It's not. Our body is probably more art than it is science. Now, of course, I use science every single day in my practice, but there's an art to this science, meaning that you can't just say, oh, I'm going to take this one product, one food, one meal, and everything's going to be good. No, we know that that's not the case. That's how conventional medicine works. If you put one thing into your body, it causes a chain reaction. If you put too much of one thing in your body, it begins to deplete another, right? You put too much calcium in, what happens? Well, it depletes magnesium. Okay. You put too much zinc in, what happens? It depletes copper. You have too much copper, what does it do? Push down zinc. You have too much sodium, pushes down potassium. Add more potassium, pushes down sodium, right? So you have to understand is that everything in our body works in a beautiful symphony. So there is a chain reaction to everything. So there's no hacking the body, right? If you ever hear people say, hey, this is the best hack you'll ever learn. No, I don't. Again, I'll probably use it sometimes, but honestly, what you're doing is you are working with the symphony of the body. And one of the gentlest and best ways to work with your body is gently. And one of the gentlest ways you can do this, and I teach this inside of our Integrative Health Practitioner Institute in our mastery-based certification, which is basically life coaching, right? So we teach people to help people lose the weight, get well, and then work on longevity. But then what happens with some of the people who just can't seem to implement the programs? The programs work, but people are not always able to work the program. So what do we need to do? We need to change the quality of those thoughts. Let's get into it. There are 3 ways to do this. All of it has to do with asking better questions. You're already doing it right now, so I just want you to change the quality of your questions. Here's an example. This is a bad example. Catch yourself doing this. I hear so many people in my own family, my own friends, my own colleagues. Again, I have the beauty, the benefit, and I'm extremely grateful that I get to listen to and work with so many people. And this includes everyone that I hear on social media too. I get hundreds of direct messages, emails, and texts every single day, hundreds. And I get to see the quality of the people's questions. And I already know who's on track and who is too far behind, that they need to change their mind before they'll ever change their body. I talk about this in the rain barrel effect. I give you literally my de-stress protocol: diet, exercise, stress reduction, rest, toxins, right? It's emotional balance, scientific supplement protocols, and success mindset. There is stress in there, right? There's emotional balance in there. There's success mindset as part of my protocol. You have to understand is the mind is a big part of this. Let me give you an example. People say all the time, why don't I ever get a break? Why am I so unlucky? Why am I always getting sick? Why can everybody else lose weight and I can't? Why does everyone else seem to be able to stay up late at night and not get sick? These are things I used to say my own self in college. Why can all my friends go out? They don't have any issues the next day. I don't feel well. I get a sinus infection, right? Why is everybody else able to go play basketball, play sports, and not get exhausted, right? Why do other people always comparing, right? Why don't I ever get a break? Why doesn't anything good ever happen to me? These are things people say. Guard against those words, especially when you're by yourself. If those thoughts are in your head and you are saying those phrases, you are putting yourself in a position to fail. And here's why. The words you say, the thoughts you think, reinforce the beliefs you already have. You have to understand is that every single day with every single thought, you are reprogramming your mind. But most of it is just rewriting the same scripts. I talked about this about 3 or 4 weeks ago on a Mindset and Motivation Monday. 90% of our thoughts are the same every day. We wonder why we're getting the same results. Again, could be great in certain areas of your life, but why is this one area never so great? Why doesn't it ever seem to work out that well, right? Is it just you, right? Is it just you? Well, it is, but you're able to fix that, right? You're able to fix that. If you have things going well in other areas of your life, believe me, you're most likely not super talented in that one area. No, you have a certain belief, which allows you to what? Have a certain feeling, which allows you to what? Take a different action. Let me give you a couple more examples, this time a little bit more positive, and then we're going to pull it all together. I love what if questions, right? I like people to instead do what I call suspend disbelief. And again, I'm teaching you what has been talked about over thousands of years in Ayurvedic medicine, in different parts of philosophy, in neurolinguistic programming, in all sorts of different, Eastern-based philosophies. They've already taught this. I'm simply trying to, as they say, stand on the shoulders of giants. I've learned, I've implemented, I've failed, I've succeeded, I am teaching, and I certainly hope that you do that as well. But here's a good question for you. What if things began to start to work out for me? Right? All you're doing, you're not starting with a big question. You're just suspending disbelief, right? What if I began to take up better habits, which led to better actions? What if things began to move in the positive for me? What if I started to catch a few breaks? What if luck began to be on my side? Right? When you start to just put things a little bit more positively, and start to question your current behaviors, and you start to ask a question about a certain thing, especially if we can get a little bit more specific now. What if I was in line for that next promotion? What if I was able to meet that special someone I was looking for when I least expected it, right? So you're not trying to put any pressure on yourself. What if I was up for a promotion? What if I was up for a raise? What if I was able to find a program that helped me lose the last 30 pounds I needed to? What if I was able to find the practitioner or a protocol that enabled me to overcome my autoimmune issue? All you're trying to say is what if, and this is what I put in my email just last week, right? Just about 2 weeks ago. And that's just on my website, StephenCabral.com. Book is free, email free. We try to give as much content away as humanly possible for free. Here's why. When you ask these questions in that specific way, where you're suspended in disbelief, but you're then leading to a positive end result, believe it or not, And they've done studies on this. There was over 40,000 people with this study. All they did was ask them this. Have you thought about purchasing a new car in the next few months? Out of 40,000 people, it showed that there was a 35% increase likelihood. That is an amazing statistic. Why? Because when you begin to give your brain a question, if it doesn't already have the answer from a conscious mindset, it throws it to the subconscious. And the subconscious needs to then figure that out. And it says, I don't know, are we buying a new car? Are we getting the new job? What are we doing here? I don't have the answer to that. So what does it do? Well, it can't leave the question unanswered. So then it puts it out there to the greater world around you that also has lots of thoughts, ideas as well. And even if you don't like to think of this from a metaphysical perspective where we're able to bring in other thoughts around us, here's a better one to think about, which is a little bit more science-based. What it does is it opens up your eyes, ears, nose, all your faculties to being able to see new opportunities. Now, the opportunities were always there, but now all of a sudden, you heard an ad for a car that you've been looking for. Oh, and they're offering a great deal. They're offering a great trade, and they're offering 0 down, whatever it might be. And then before you weren't thinking about getting a new car, but now this deal is too good to pass up. It was always there, right? There's always a deal, but now what's called the reticular activating system is now activated in your brain for this one specific thing. Remember, it's always activated, but it is not always channeled on what you were looking for because you need to be the one to pose the question. So here's another couple for you. I love these questions right here. What areas of my life do I need to change in order to, and let's give some specific examples, to overcome that autoimmune disease? What areas of my life do I need to change in order to overcome this autoimmune issue? How can I move more quickly to becoming well again? We're going to go right now to learn more about becoming healthy. Who could help me reach my goals faster? So do you see how everything's in a positive? All we are doing is simply channeling it towards getting well. You can do the same exact thing for a relationship. What areas of my life do I need to change in order to enter into the greatest relationship of my life, or find that special someone, or find the love of my life? How do I move more quickly to finding the person that's right for me? We're going to go right now to meet that person I've always wanted to meet. Who could help me reach my goals faster, defining the relationship I've been looking for? Replace the end part with whatever your goal is. Couple more. Love these what ifs as well. Just a couple more what ifs. What if everything that I want, everything that I've dreamed about is coming to me right now? These are just all encompassing positive thoughts. What if I came into massive abundance in terms of my health and my body transformation, right? So use those what ifs. But now, so again, why am I giving you lots of different questions? Because no two people are exactly alike. But fundamentally, we are alike. The problem is we don't always get the same cues, and we don't always latch onto the same phrases the same way. So I'm trying to give you what sticks to you, and I want to give you the last part. But I saved it for the end because I do not want to sway you. These are my favorites. This is what I use in my own life, and I try to teach as much as possible. But it doesn't work for everyone, so some of the previous ones will work better. But this is what I use. What would it look like if I had, now insert your goal, okay? So what would it look like if I had the body I always wanted? What would it look like if I was in the relationship that I've always dreamed about? I'm just going to give you a couple more, and then I'm going to explain why they're my favorite. What would it look like to have the career of my dreams? What would it look like to have the health that I've always wanted? What would it look like to enjoy the level of spirituality that I've only ever dreamt about? So I'm going to give you one more, and I'm going to explain why this is so powerful. What would ultimate happiness and freedom look like? Do you see how all of those are open? And if you sit down and you journal or you think about this, it's going to lead to new thoughts. But those new thoughts are going to lead to more positive feelings. And since the new thoughts are actually questions, they're going to lead to potential actions that you could take for the better. I'll repeat them one more time, and hopefully you can see exactly what I'm talking about. What would it look like if I had the body I always wanted? What would it look like if I was in the perfect relationship? What would it look like if I had all the income I ever wanted? What would that look like to you? Right? So here's the issue. We always say, oh, I want the health, the body, the relationship, the spirituality, the love, the finance, the whatever. Okay, but do you know what that looks like? Because if you don't, how can your subconscious give you the right thoughts to enjoy the actual feelings of already having it for you then to take the actions and see the opportunities that present themselves? The problem is most people have never really asked the question. And then those that have, only a fraction have ever answered the question. Ask the question, ask the right questions in a positive way, enjoy the feelings, answer the question, and then begin to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves. To me, it's the most fun, enjoyable, and absolute best way to manifest everything that you've been looking for in your life. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. As always, I appreciate you. And if this was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone.